Okay, so this time through, we're going to read Two Old Potatoes and Me again. It's by John Coy, illustrated by Carolyn Fisher. Make sure you have your pencil out. Make sure you have your worksheet out, that you're following along, and that you're paying attention, because remember, when I say pause the video, you need to make sure that you pause the video. Remember, our genre this week is realistic fiction, a story that sounds as if it could be true. The characters, the plot, and the setting all seem real. So it's not necessarily a real story, but it could happen. And then characters are the people in this story. Last spring at my dad's house, I found 2 old potatoes in the back of the cupboard. They were so old. Sprouts were growing from their eyes. And remember, their eyes as spots on their skin. Gross! I tossed them in the trash. Wait, Dad said. I think we can grow new potatoes with those. I'll call your grandpa. He'll know. Dad and I talked with Grandpa. Then we took the potatoes to the sunniest spot in the garden. We dug. We dug. We picked out rocks. We raked the soil smooth. Dad carefully or slowly cut the potatoes into 9 pieces or parts. I made sure each piece had 1 yellow sprout. Dad dug 9 small holes. I put a piece of potato with the eye facing up in each hole. Then I covered them with dirt to make little hills. Dad got the hose and I watered gently or with care. So, get ready to pause your video. Before we move on, we're going to answer a couple of questions. Question number 1 is about sequence. Remember, sequence is when things are in the right order. What did the girl and her dad do with the potatoes? Explain each step. So you're going to need to pause the video and take a minute to write down what the girl and her dad do with the potatoes. Remember, in order. So first she did this, then they did this, next they did that, last they did that. Pause the video and answer question number 1. Okay, now we're going to make an inference. Now remember, an inference is taking what we've read and using what we already know about something and putting them together to kind of make an educated, not necessarily a guess, but an assumption about what we think is going on. So we're going to make an inference. Why do the characters put the potato sprouts facing up? So why do they make sure when they put it in, it says, I put a piece of potato with the eye facing up. The sprouts were growing from their eyes. So why do they put that side facing up? Why do you think? Pause the video and answer question number 2. Okay, in May, green plants poked up like caterpillars unfolding. Ooh, can you identify the simile? In May, green plants poked up like caterpillars unfolding. They're comparing plants to caterpillars, right? We got down on our knees and picked weeds. We shoveled compost onto each hill. So to shovel compost means to put a special kind of soil onto each hill. Won't that smother the plants or keep air from getting to the plants? No, they'll grow through it. Are we really going to get new potatoes from old potatoes? I think so, said Dad. In June, the plants grew bigger. Violet flowers blossomed. Here you can see the blossoms. And we added more compost. When we watered, I accidentally sprayed my dad with the hose. Made a mistake, right? And got our dad wet. He laughed and sprayed me back. Look how much fun they're having. In July, when the plants were as tall as my waist, we picked potato beetles off the leaves. I dropped them into a pail of soapy water. Gross! We have to do this, Dad said. Otherwise, or if we don't, the bugs will eat the leaves and the potatoes won't grow. In August, some of the plants turned brown and withered, right? They became brown and dry. Are they dead? No, said Dad. The potatoes are growing underground or below the surface of the soil. Are you sure? I hope so. That's what your grandpa said. We weeded, we watered, we waited. So before you move on, get your paper ready, get your pencil ready. We're going to confirm a prediction. We are not confirming a prediction. We're going to talk about characters. Do the girl and her dad get along well? How do you know? So think about the girl with her dad. Think back to these pictures back here. Think about this. Remember their conversations that they've had. Do the girl and her dad get along? How do you know? So prove it. Find it in the text. How do you know that they get along or they don't get along? Pause the video and answer the question. Okay, now we're going to make a prediction. How many new potatoes will the old potatoes produce or make? Okay, we're going to make that prediction. So think of it in your mind. How many new potatoes will the old potatoes produce? Now, on a cool September day, Dad and I sit on the bench in the yard. Soon, we get up and walk to the garden. What's your favorite way to eat potatoes? Dad asked. Mashed with lots of butter and a sprinkle of nutmeg for good luck. Remember, nutmeg is a spice. That's my favorite too. Let's see what's under these hills. Dad gets the garden fork from the shed, right? The little building down here, it shows you a picture. And I carry the big bucket. Dad digs at the first hill. Nothing but dirt. He digs again. More dirt. After all that work, I say. Dad hands me the fork, or he gives it to her, right? You try. I dig deep. I lift the fork and see 7 golden shapes. Potatoes, I shout. Look at those spuds, Dad says, and spuds is another name or another word for potatoes. I bend down and pick up a potato. I rub the dirt off its skin and I set it in the bucket. 1 potato, 2 potatoes, 3 potatoes, 4, 5 potatoes, 6 potatoes, 7 potatoes, more. Each hill has lots of potatoes. Some are small, some are big, some have funny faces. 51 potatoes, 52 potatoes, 53 potatoes, 54, 55 potatoes, 56 potatoes, 57 potatoes, more. I count 67 and our bucket is overflowing. All this from 2 old potatoes. Yes, Dad rubs my head. Ready to dig into the potatoes you grew or to eat the potatoes you grew? Yeah, I'm hungry. So now we're going to confirm our prediction. How many potatoes did you think the plants would produce? Write that number down on your paper. Did the number surprise you? So they actually got how many potatoes? Remember back on this page? How many did she count? Does that number surprise you? Okay, make sure you pause the video and answer that question, and then we're going to come back and answer one more question before we're done. The last question I want you to answer is a point of view question. Who tells the story, and how do you know? Who's telling this story about the potatoes? Think about the words that you hear. Is it in first person, I, me, and my? Is it in third person, they, them, those guys? Pause the video and answer those questions.